Meghan McCain has advice for us. So this ought to be good. So she's gonna bring up Kamala Harris. She's gonna say all sorts of nonsense. Let's listen, and then we will tell you what the reality is.
I want to show a clip to explain why it's happening with Republicans.
Let's just say there's a vaccine that is approved and even distributed before the election. Would you get it?
Well, I think that's going to be an issue for all of us. I will say that I would not trust Donald Trump, and it would have to be a credible source of information that talks about the efficacy and the reliability of whatever he's talking about. I will not take his word for it.
So she's expressing skepticism about the vaccine under the Trump administration. A lot of Republicans I know are expressing skepticism about the vaccine under the Biden administration, which is why this has been so dangerous, that this has become so politicized. Both sides are equally responsible for this. Republicans are contrarian by nature. We are built from my very fabric up to question authority and to question big government. And when big government is saying you have to do X, Y, and Z, we're going to question it.
Except for when it's the Patriot Act.
Yeah, yeah, good point, Waz. So, all right, first of all, Waz is right. They passed the Patriot Act, they passed all this. They don't want to question anything. As long as they're in charge, they want you to bow your heads and do exactly as they tell you to do. Second of all, equally responsible? Both sides are equally responsible for sowing mistrust about the government and coronavirus. Preposterous, man. She cut off Kamala Harris there. You know what the rest of her answer was? But if Dr. Fauci says that it's fine, I trust him, so then I would take it, right? Conveniently, she left that part of the clip out, right? Basically, what Kamala Harris was saying is, if you gave me an actual scientist and not a moron like Donald Trump, then I'll trust it. But I'm not gonna trust an idiot that doesn't know a goddamn thing about coronavirus. And why did she say something like that? I don't know, because Donald Trump thought you could inject disinfectant into your lungs and get rid of coronavirus, and that you would have to be really one of the dumbest people alive, which unfortunately is about 40% of this country, to believe anything that comes out of that fool's mouth. So here, we're gonna show you, we got comments from Dr. Birx, who's gonna regulate here, but I wanna show you what Trump said and Dr. Birx's reaction to that, to give you a sense of whether this issue is 50-50 or not on who to trust.
So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
We'll get the right folks who could.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute. 1 minute, and is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number in the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
He took her breath away, man. She's never heard anything dumber in her life. Never. Never. And I saw her brain imploding as he was talking. Like, I was a doctor. What am I doing here? What am I doing here? And I saw it rolling around in her head like, oh my God, half the country believes this. Oh my God, half the country believes this. Okay, now, if you're saying, hey, Cenk, you're extrapolating there. You don't know that she was thinking that. Well, good news. We have Dr. Birx now talking about it. So Brett, roll that tape.
That moment, obviously, there's a lot of tape on that. You can see how extraordinarily uncomfortable I was. Unfortunately, he was not speaking to me. He was speaking to the DHS scientist who had presented the data. And then when he did turn to me, I said, not a treatment. I have spent almost 30 years in the military. Those of you who have served in the military know that there are discussions you have in private with your commanding officers, and there's discussions you had in public. frankly, I didn't know how to handle that episode. I still think about it every day. When I was spoken to, I said not a treatment. If someone didn't have the military training that I had, maybe they would have reacted differently. And it's something Dr. Fauci and I talked about all the time, is how to correct the record.
So, of course she thought he was a moron because she's a doctor, okay? And doctors know you can't inject disinfectant into your lungs or zap your body with lights and have that fix coronavirus. You also can't do hydroxy, as he, just made up out of whole cloth. He's like, I don't know, maybe we go with hydroxychloroquine, or maybe we go with lights zapped into our brains. What do you think, Dr. Birx? And she said, another thing she said in that interview was, that moment, obviously, there's a lot of tape on that. You can see how extraordinarily uncomfortable I was. Yeah, I was. We could see it. So now Meghan McCain is telling us, no, you should treat both sides equally. And Trump, Biden, I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, and Meghan McCain clearly, obviously, has no credibility, right? Like there's no other way to paint that. But I will say this. The Dems around election time were getting cute with how they decided to frame and politicize certain things. Kamala did get a little too cute in her answer right there, right? Like, because she did want to take a dig at Trump and the untrustworthy nature of how he handled the virus and the response to it. She was getting cute, she was getting political. And I will say, like, this is around the same time when Nancy Pelosi was like, nah, we can't pass a stimulus before the election because people might like it and Trump might get votes off of it. So I will say, they were getting cute around then about the things that they decided to politicize. But again, Meghan McCain, she has no credibility once you do this both sides equal stuff. It's nonsense. It was the White House. It was Trump who used his bully pulpit to politicize the shutdown, to politicize the mask mandates, to politicize all the stuff, not going to church, not going to school. He's the one that said, no, we want to get you back in church. We want to get you back to work. We're the ones who want it, not the Democrats. So that was completely Trump's doing. Like, there's no two ways about that.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz regulating right there. It's true, the Democrats did do those things, but in terms of science, there's no comparison. The one guy was an idiot that didn't have any idea what he was doing and telling us, oh, you should have trusted him. No, we're not. Well, I was gonna use an old school.
I was wondering why I couldn't get OxyClean at Costco around the time. It was confusing, man. It was weird how that worked out.
The Clorox and stuff. I mean, I didn't know how to hit the. All right, one last thing about McCain. She also said in that interview, in that segment, she said, there's been many opportunities to right this wrong, including President Biden going on TV and giving credit to President Trump for the help with the rollout of the vaccine, which he didn't do. No. Okay, Meghan, let me be super clear. We are never going to give that moron credit for anything, okay? Because if he did accidentally do something right, it's because he tripped over it. Okay, you just saw the moron say we should inject disinfectant into our lungs. You think he had a strategy? You think he had a brilliant strategy on coronavirus? No, I'm not gonna let them rewrite history. I'm just not gonna do it. No, he had no earthly idea what he was doing. When he came out of the hospital because he himself got coronavirus, because that's how stupid he was. He's a president, man. They can put you in a bubble. And you don't have any idea how many doctors there are to protect the president, right? And he's like, I don't need those stinking doctors. Coronavirus. He like baseline coronavirus and then got it because he's that dumb as a president of the United States. And then he comes out in that same speech that you're looking at there and he's like, they say I'm immune, maybe, I don't know. You're speaking to the nation. Then why didn't you find out? You were in the freaking hospital, you had it. You've been president for 10 months during coronavirus. So no, we are not going to thank him, Meghan. All these Republicans go around going, hey, when are you guys gonna thank Trump? Now I'm done with that talking point. The correct answer is never, ever.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.